Alright, this is my 2016 Yamaha YZF-R3. Now you might ask yourself, why is a 46-year-old professional, fairly successful, and devastatingly handsome individual like myself on a small little bike like an R3? Well, it's a good question. I suppose I'll explain. I started riding when I was about 18 years old. My buddy had a Honda Shadow 700 that he purchased brand new, and he rode it from California to Massachusetts, and then he just parked it in a buddy's barn out in the back. I didn't know anything about it, and several years later I'm hanging around his house and I see a picture on his refrigerator of a bike, and I asked him whose bike. He was like, that's mine. You don't have a bike. So we drive out there, we pull it out of the barn, it's all dusty, and I'm like, listen, if this thing's just going to sit here and rot, I want it. And, I told him I'll pay you for it. And he says, well, I'm not going to take a penny from you until I put it in the shop and, make sure it's safe to ride. So he had a Toyota 4Runner, and back then the caps came off. So we pulled the top off it, we pulled the roll bar out of it, we roll the bike up into the back of his truck, we take it out to his shop, and the guy has it about 2 weeks. They did brand new tires, brakes, fluids, just went through the whole bike, new battery, got the bike tip top, and he sold it to me for $1,000. Which was an awesome deal. He was a good friend. He didn't need the money. So I kept that bike 6-7 years, maybe 8 years. Rode it every single day, weather permitting. And then, life changes. The motorcycle life just didn't fit me anymore, at the time anyway. I mean, it fit me, but I ended up selling the bike for $1,500, and at the time I was strapped. I needed the money. I ended up giving the money to my mom, who was buying a house. And then my relationship got more complicated, and as a girlfriend becomes a wife, and your wife is anti-bike, it becomes more difficult to justify joint money, marriage money. For you guys that aren't married, I hate to break it to you. As soon as you're married, your money becomes our money, and our money is put toward things that we need, like vacations and new dresses. So we got married, and then we bought a house, and then we had kids, and before you know it, I'm 46. Holy shit. So last year I decided I was going to buy a bike. My kids are older, I don't have to drive them to daycare and all that other nonsense anymore. I'm just rolling back and forth to work by myself. That's not why I bought the bike. I bought the bike because I wanted a toy just for tooling around town. Come home from work, got to run out and get a haircut, or, run a few errands. And I just wanted a bike for play. So I hadn't ridden a bike in 20 years. I figured I'd start slow. Went out and took my MSF course again, got my license, all that nonsense. And I wanted a bike that was going to be fun, and I didn't need some speed demon, some crazy ass bike. I just wanted something fun, and I had never owned a sport bike. I rode 3 or 4 different bikes during those years when I was younger. But, I never had, that quote unquote super sport. And, every time I sat on the R6 at the dealership, I kept thinking to myself, it's going to be 15 minutes and they'll be cleaning me up with a shovel. My skills are there, but my ability to behave, at least in the beginning, I was doubtful that I'd be able to, behave myself. So anyway, I wanted something that would be fun and inexpensive, just to, you got to meet the wife's needs too. And this thing was only $5,000. So I bought it brand new. This is my second summer with it. The season's just coming around. In fact, we had massive thunderstorms last night, so I'm watching for debris. And then we're supposed to get another batch of storms today with some potential hail, so the ride home might be interesting. We'll have to wait and see. But what are we doing up here? This is my second season with this, and it's been great. But the one thing I didn't expect to bring it to work. My commute is around 50 miles, and I usually take a toll highway to work. And I won't take the bike on that road because everybody's on their phone. They're all multitasking. And that road's like a scene out of Mad Max. And when I'm in my truck, bring it on. But when I'm on my bike, I'd prefer not to have people slamming several thousand pounds worth of steel into me. So I take these back roads, and these roads are awesome. You just watch out for the morons and cruise my way into work. Takes me about an hour and a half to get to work. And on this bike, I'm okay with that. It's been great. One nice thing is, I'm getting 60 miles to the gallon. That's pretty badass. I get 19 in the truck, so 60 on this. I did the math. I'm saving something like $12 a day. $12 a day, and you know, cost me like $4 to fill it. I gotta fill it. I can get 2 commutes in on this bike, but that's just 2 commutes. I'm kind of running on fumes after the second ride home, so I typically try to keep the bike topped off. I got a 5-gallon tank at home, which is pretty cool because I can pull in and top the bike off 4 or 5 times at home if I want to. I like the bike. It's easy to ride. I don't care what anybody says. It's got more than enough power. It's got enough power that you can be braking pretty much any speed limit in New England in under 6 seconds. It handles really well on the corners. These New England back roads, you know, they're all windy and curvy, and you know, right now I'm dealing with the shit-ass traffic, but you know, on a normal day, it's great. It handles so well. It just wants to. It's telepathic. You think, oh look, there's a left turn ahead, and the bike's already leaning over. Really, really easy to ride. I've had bikes where you've had to work. You've had to work to get those corners in, and this bike is not like that at all. It looks good. The only thing is, when I bought it, I was really happy with my decision. I still am, but when I bought it, I was really thrilled with it. But my wife kept telling me, you should get the R6, it looks better on you. And I see what she means now. This bike is not a lot, it's a little small. It's a great beginner bike. It's easy to reach the ground. You know, it'd be great for a smaller rider, a lighter rider, because it's a very lightweight bike. It's easy to kind of tilt back and forth. I am not only flat-footed, but my legs are pretty well bent. I look like a circus bear on this thing. And I think that's one of the major things I don't like about this bike. I wish it felt bigger. I wish the tank was wider. It's not needed. It's just I want to feel like I'm on a bigger bike. And I wish it was just a little bit taller so I didn't look like a complete knob on this thing. And it's just a self-conscious thing. I'm sure people don't, you know, guys on bikes, they know. They look at this and they probably laugh. Unless they've ridden one. If you've been on the bigger sport bikes and then gotten on one of these smaller ones, people are pleasantly surprised at just how much fun it is. I mean, it's not crazy fast, but man, does it handle well, and it's just a blast to rip around on. So, you know, but in my area, I'm in New England, and in my area, it's mostly all Harleys. And they just look at this thing and laugh. You know, so I wish that, I wish it was a little bigger. And I sometimes wish I was on a different bike. Now that I've gotten my practice in, I've gotten my skills back up, my confidence is back where it needs to be. I'd really like to get off of this. I can only have one bike. This I'm certainly not going to get approval on two. The CFO just won't allow that. So, you know, I'd like to get off of this and onto a different bike. And the problem is all the bikes I'm looking at are anywhere between $10,000 and $20,000. My next bike is going to be my last bike, and I don't mean that in a crash it and die sort of way. I mean it in the way that I want it to last me 20 years. I don't want to be sort of like when you meet a girl and you ask her to marry you. It's because you know she's the one. You know, you're not going to be eyeballing everything in a tank top at the mall from there forward. You've got the one that you want to spend the rest of your life with. And I'm kind of looking for that in a motorcycle. And I know that's silly, you know, technologies and times and looks and everything else change, but I've got my eye on 2 or 3 bikes. And if I could have my way, I'd pick one up. But every time I mention it at home, I get the look. She's fully supportive. She's like, do what you want to do. But I know she doesn't mean it. So, yeah, for now, financially, I'm sticking with this. The other thing is, you know, this is a $5,000 bike. I paid a little under $5,900 for it out the door. That's after destination fees and every other BS dock fee the dealer throws at you. Tax, registration fees. In my state, we have something called excise tax. You basically pay a tax on the value of each vehicle that you register. So excise tax on this was a couple $100, and you get to pay that every year. I remember I bought my Infiniti G35 brand new. Paid 40 grand for it. And a couple of months later, my excise tax bill came in the mail, and it was like $2,500. Thought my wife was going to kill me on that one. We totally forgot about the excise tax. So anyway, you know, all said and done, this is a $6,000 bike. I've put 3,000 miles on it. I just brought it to the first dealership inquiring about a trade-in, and they offered me 3 grand. I owe $3,700 on it. I'm not taking 3 grand for it. So anyway, I'll probably have to sell it privately. You know, I'll take 4 grand for it, stock, you know, factory, and I'm going to want a little bit more with all the mods on it. I haven't crazy tricked it out performance-wise, but, you know, it's got a slip-on, it's got levers. You know, it's got frame sliders, integrated tail light, all LED directionals. You know, I've got some money into it. I want to get some of that back. Alright, so I'm at work. There she is. I wish I could keep it and buy another one, but I can only have one bike. So for now I'm keeping it. And, you know, we'll see how things go. Alright boys, I'm at work. I gotta go. See you later. Peace.